All right.
Hey.
This is a weird night for us to do this. Instead of greeting you into your first day of the hostage situation, we are coming in as we're coming out of the hostage situation because it is Thursday. We moved this initially because it was
NLG
Halloween
day.
on Monday, and I didn't want to try to quickly wrap up trick-or-treating, hurry upstairs, try to get logged in, do a stream, and then immediately go to work at 10 o'clock. So but that
And it was
seemed like
prime time trick or tweeting for me. Trick or tweeting.
Yes. Yes.
I did that.
Can I just say that I was very disappointed that Mike didn't go as Hebrew Hetfield for Halloween. That's what I was hoping.
We did get rained out, so there's always
good excuse.
Always next year, Panda.
Good excuse. You look exactly like him, like the '80s Hetfield.
You've said this to me before.
It's a compliment.
I take it as
it's a total compliment.
I totally take it as a compliment.
Yeah.
I don't have his money, but
What's up, Carla?
True.
Carla.
What's up,
Hasselhoff?
Hasselhoff?
What's up?
We got Rabbit Dude, Nine Jules Ninja November is in here. Panda Sub is obviously here on the panel. Casey is here. Rabbit Dude is here. I think I said that just a minute ago. Zombie was in the chat. I think he may still be here, kind of lurking. A lot of times he's working when he's hanging out. Sai came by to kind of at least give us a like and wishes to have a good stream. And I think that is no. Luke was here basically to say hi. He can't stick around. And I think Paste is kind of in the same boat. So we may or may not have a lot of people tonight. We're going to find out. It kind of depends because it's kind of a new, weird evening for us. So
hey,
we're going to see.
I can give a quick shout out to I followed. He subscribed to our channel, and I looked down my subscribers, and I'm like, oh, let me check these guys out. If they subscribe to me, I want to go check them out. Nigel Ninja's November Neighborhood Niche, and he's in the chat tonight. Dude's got some great videos. He just did some like 10 days ago. He did some Castlevania, some Reign of Dracula. And I think he's streaming now, aren't you? You're streaming Age of Empire 2.
He always streams.
Yeah, good stuff.
What's up, Samich? Oh, Rhea's in the chat too. Hey, Rhea.
Hey, Rhea. And Samich and Big Block and
yeah, we got everybody kind of popping in. I think everybody's kind of getting the idea that we're going
Peter's
tonight.
Here.
Oh, Peter's here. Fantastic. So I think you've been on a couple times, Panda. So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of go around, see how everybody's kind of week's been, what you guys have been into since the last time we had a chance to talk with you. That could take a while because I haven't been deliberately avoiding like texting you too much because every time I text you, you're like, yeah, I'm super buried, and I'm like, oh, now I feel bad.
Yeah.
Because you've been crazy busy lately.
Yeah, I have been. Are we going around
we can go in any order. I normally just kind of go over to Rob and then down and across. So Rob, what have you been doing?
I think I'm lagging on my end, so let Mike go.
Or
first.
fantastic at miming.
or this is an awesome kung fu movie.
Yeah.
I'll wait for mine to end to catch up. So
You see how that goes.
I'm tripping balls right now, man. It's kind of
growing me. Mike, go ahead. What have you been into, my man?
Oh man. Well, we had our 200. What do you do?
Great stream, guys. It's fantastic.
All right. The hell were we doing?
No, I just want to add a delay so we can have like this kung fu stream where we talk and you hear the audio, and then all of a sudden people move.
So, what I was doing was, all right. No, on Tuesday night was our show.
What's up, Phil?
Our actual 299th show. We're coming up on show 300, and we were talking about the games. A couple of things. We were talking about the games of 2022 we like so far, which there's a lot of. And I've been playing a lot of Plague Tale Requiem this week. I need to get that done because God of War's on its way.
Yeah, that's coming out like what, a week or two now? Something like that?
Something like that. Well, the reviews are all out today, and it got like a
10 by IGN. I saw
are they saying that the best game ever again?
What's the hype
of
level
course they
for
are.
that? Like, what's the hype level for that game? Like in my little
It's
small
pretty
world,
high.
it doesn't feel as big as the first one, but I'm also not in the loop. So I was just curious. Is it as ramped
I
up?
think the delay kind of killed the hype train. Like the
Okay.
really hardcore Sony fanboys are really, really, really stoked for it.
Okay.
I'm really,
I
really
didn't even
stoked for
remember
it.
the date on this one. I just know I'm going to buy it whenever it comes out and I'm going to play it. But there's already an air of disappointment because it's built for the PS4. So they're not
Oh.
even
Wait, is
really
it?
pushing the PS5 with it. So,
So
my
is
God's
it coming
sake.
out on the PS4?
It's gonna be 4K
Yeah.
I think so.
60. It's gonna be like 4K 60 on the PS5. People need to calm down. I'm gonna be playing.
I'm
the hell
sure
out of
it'll
that
be
performance
good. I
mode.
mean, I'm looking forward to playing it, quite frankly.
I
but-
am too. I really
Okay.
enjoyed the first God of War. I mean, not the first.
You
God
mean
of
the
War,
PS4?
but
Is that
yes,
the one you're talking about?
the
Yeah,
last.
see, 'cause we
2018.
got a couple of first.
Yeah.
We got the reboot
Yeah,
first,
yeah.
and then
No,
you know,
the last one, the last God of War. I really did enjoy it. I am much more of a single player. Leave me the hell alone. Let me play kind of gamer.
Amen.
yeah.
And so, that's why I'm really enjoying Plague Tale. That's why I enjoy games like God of War, where I could just and something that's not like God of War was like open world ish, but it really wasn't open world.
Yeah,
So-
it took a long time to even get to where it even started to feel like an open world, and that lake was
Exactly.
really the main open world section when it boiled down to it.
Exactly. So I'm going to enjoy that. And so we talked about games like that. We talked about games that we were looking forward to because 2023 is going to be very stacked. And I did. I gave a little in television news. I showed off the mobile controller app that
Right.
part of the play
Photoshopped.
testing. And yep, exactly. And we had a great time. And then so I've just been trying to get some gaming. And I did finally release my Gravatar recharge video. Finally.
Yeah, I know you showed that one to me before. That's under Resent and watch it when it like launch because I had already watched through it because we'd already given you like I think
Yes.
you had us watch it just to kind of see if there were any tweaks on it, like a couple of us.
Yeah, and I got
Put it
tweaks
out.
for the next one, so the audio will be better balanced. I'm still working on audio balance. That's still one of my weak points.
What's
is-
weird
Audio
is
is weakness for everybody, myself included.
it totally is. It took me forever to get my audio right, and even then, a lot of times I have to tweak it before I launch it. And particularly if I have music, it becomes another audio balance issue because I have to
Yep.
balance the level of the music that's in the background to make sure it's not too high.
And then
above me.
who the hell knows, how they have their speakers, what setting they have their
Right.
TV
or
on, either
headphones
speech or
or
stereo. Or
whatever,
listen.
right?
Well, and here's what I find is that I use HitFilm for my editing. It's the I've used DaVinci, I've used Pinnacle. HitFilm has like the best of everything that I want. The problem is the mix when I'm editing doesn't seem to be exactly the mix when it renders. And so that's what I hear when I'm
That
when
could
I'm-
be depending on what compression you're outputting. We can talk after.
Yeah,
That'd be
and
great.
I have a similar thing with Premiere. A lot of times it sounds lighter
Same
when it's in
issue.
Premiere, and then I play it after, and it's louder after it comes out. So I always kind of have to check
Yeah.
it both ways, just to make sure everything's kind of clean.
yeah.
And I've gotten to where I check it anyway, just because I'm paranoid that I exported it without the audio for like the third time.
I can't tell you how many times I go tap, tap, tap. Hey, Nick, that video you have is fantastic. At least the visuals are.
But I
They was
got
pulling a MrMatthews the rest of the
I've
time.
I've totally done it.
But I gotta give
No audio.
give the two of
It's
you
not a problem.
some great credit because between the two of you, you guys have helped me to really hone in on my video skills. I mean, I was not nearly as
Up, Chris.
great at it until recently, so thanks to you, Panda. Nick, you do a lot of help out, checking things for me and looking at stuff.
Yeah, it's for me. It's always a constant process, right? And lately I've gotten more where I've kind of just found a rhythm, and I'm kind of just building things, and then I kind of want to get back out of that, which will make videos take longer. But I find if I'm not pushing myself, I'm not having as much fun doing it anymore.
Can I
So I
just
need to
say
do
and
that.
interrupt? Because I'm going to interrupt anyway.
Go ahead.
Geek Story and content has been fantastic.
Oh,
I love that
off
new
the
channel. I
I've
think that
been
was
really happy with it. I've
Yeah.
got one weird one
You
that's
should
coming
be.
up because I'm gonna do one on I'm going to try to get this wrapped up by
Oh,
Monday
okay.
on basic programming language, which seems like it's kind of out there, but I'm going to try to make it work. Because it's kind of, I kind of consider it kind of a key moment, right? It's kind of where you change things from things having their own language on every single piece of hardware you had, and you had an easy, accessible, beginner language that worked across multiple platforms, right? It made things accessible, right, to people,
Right.
to be able to start experimenting, to start playing, to start learning, to be able to get into that and be able to build things and have things come out, and more things started coming to market, right? More people started understanding how to use the computer and how to, like, give it instructions and things like that. So it's kind of, and I went way back on this one because I found some like weird stuff back from like the 1700s and 1800s. It could actually be considered programming in a loose sense, right?
Oh, did you ever see that chess player thing?
No, but I found a doll that wrote letters.
Okay, that sounds awesome. But also look into
Let's go back to that though.
yeah, no, but also look into what do they call those? They're not animatronics. The thing before that, what were they technically called? They're robots, but they're not. But they're cranky
Automatons or
that. Thank you. That's it. There's one that actually plays chess and like beats you every time. Look into that. Really,
I've seen a few of those. Absolutely.
and that's from 1 billion years ago.
I thank you,
Not
John.
exactly
I
a
appreciate
billion.
it. And yeah, it's kind of growing. It was kind of slow during October because I radically changed the format. And I like that format for the holidays. I just kind of want to do it better next year, where I can have other videos during the week that maybe aren't Halloween and then feature that on like Fridays as like the Halloween content during the month. That way people have some more normalcy with that during that month. I think that might have been the weak point of that, of why most people really were kind of like checking out of the channel. And apparently, as tame as I thought those videos were, they actually scared a few people.
Remember what I told you. I said, dude, this is a little much. You had like eyes popping out and all this. I'm like, these are like family guys.
It wasn't the intro though. It's just the concept of the video. Like one of like the sweetest new people that I've met, and let me give her a quick shout out, is Slonko Gaming. And she's an absolute sweetheart. She's a great streamer. She's a wonderful person. If you get a chance to check her out, check her out. She's on Twitter. She's pretty active there. But she's very much a scaredy cat when it comes to like Halloween. So she was like kind of like watching my stream. Said she was watching my videos kind of like this.
Always the effect you want on your audience.
I kind of feel bad now. I put all the work into these visuals, and you can't watch them. I sort of feel bad now.
Hey, do you happen to know, Geekstorian, what the first game? This is not a quiz. I don't know the answer. What the first game to feature 3 lives was? Like that concept?
An oddly specific question. You don't know the answer?
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, no, I was
know
he's a Geekstorian. I was actually hoping that maybe you knew that.
I mean, the first one I would have played would have been probably the original Mario Brothers, but I think it goes back further than that.
Wait, so
It seems like a stand for like even Pac-Man. So
yeah, like Pac-Man even had that, and that would have been 81.
And what's the question? So what did
the first video game to have 3 lives?
The concept of 3 lives.
The concept of 3 lives. Maybe Asteroids, because Asteroids did something
Asteroids
like that too.
had lives.
What about Space Invaders?
Anyone in the chat use
lives?
Google or Brave? Kind of look that up for us, because
Space Invaders I thought was pre-Asteroids. Oh,
hey, Master System, good to see you, man. Thank you. And John, it takes a while. I usually end up, when I have downtime, I'll write a little bit on a script, and I intentionally write these scripts so they're shorter, so that I can edit them together quicker. So that's intentional on my part, because I can very easily end up in the weeds in a 15-20 minute video that can sometimes take me 2 weeks to edit or more. And that's if I don't put a lot of super fancy bells and whistles in it. Space War. That's a thought.
Yeah, but when
I don't know how many lives you had on Space War.
Well, apparently
Hey,
3.
The only scary thing about Geek Stories videos is the fact that they contain the Geek Story. And you know what, sir? I can't help it if, I prefer, butter with my videos.
Says the terrifying crab that's jumping out of its icon.
I know. I know. What's up, Pace? I don't know.
No, that could be another video one day because that would be.
But
it was not
Space
Sonic.
Invaders did have lives.
That's right. Space Invaders did have
Space
lives.
Invaders had lives, and that was
It absolutely did.
1970.
And that,
Hold on.
and I think you started out with like 3 ships on that one. Yeah, so that might have been the first one to really that I know of that had that concept.
78.
I'll do some more digging. That might be an interesting like side note on like maybe a game mechanics, which I'm still debating if I'm going to put a history or a game mechanic up because I have another game mechanic written up, but I've got to
3 lives paste.
I got to edit it and everything else like that too.
I think it's only fair that since I recommended
What's up, James?
that I now own your channel and all of its views. So
Yeah.
should you? It doesn't even matter actually, even if you use the idea or not. I now own your channel.
Thanks for popping in, James. I'm going to ignore that. Continue on. Just want me for my legs, Mr. Geeks. Better watch out. What's my legs? It's a terrifying crab icon when you really look at it close.
It is absolutely mortifying.
So, Panda, what have you been into? We found out what Mike's been into.
Like what I've been playing and stuff. Is that the idea?
I've been playing, doing whatever you feel like talking about that you're sharing that you've been involved in.
Extinguish my life that's on fire. When I'm not doing that, what I've been working on is a ton of my own episodes, namely the penultimate video to my whole series that won't be shown for like another 10 years from now. I've been working on that for like 5 years, still working on it like crazy, and then I'm also working on 5 new ones, and I'm hoping to get one out end of November, hopefully. And I've also been, because of that, I get very little time to sleep. So when I do go to
like sleeping anyway,
I kind of have to now, stupid doctors, but they tell me I'm supposed to get sleep. So when I do,
yes, your body repairs while you're asleep.
Poppycock.
Yeah,
science is a thing, sir.
No, I don't believe in it. So what I've been doing is I've been playing some of my old favorites, actually. Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I love that game. I love that you can kind of just be in and out of sleep and just do little tiny quests and kind of level up. It's just kind of a fun game to like listen to something while playing
I
it.
may try that one because a lot of people have been telling me to try to kind of try the more modern ones because I played the first one.
Well, I can give you a head.
I didn't really care for it, and I played Black Flag and I loved it until they made me try to be an assassin. And
Okay.
I hate everything about the assassin part of Assassin's Creed.
Then maybe this may not be for you. But I would say I didn't play the earlier ones. This was the one I kind of jumped in on, so I really like it. I would also say Phoenix Rising, who's like basically the same people.
Okay.
That's a really great game. That one you might even enjoy more because there's no assassinating in it. But it's just a really, really fun game. I will say if you do play Odyssey, unfortunately, and I will never, ever usually say this, you should get the DLC version, like the gold version, because otherwise the grind is just completely unfair. Okay. So if you get the gold version, you get this like bonus that just...
Yeah, I knew it was a little bit more RPG-like.
It's very RPG.
It was either Odyssey or Origins, which was the first one to do that, because Odyssey, Origins, and Valhalla, all 3
Origins is what kind of
have that kind of scheme.
Yes,
and it was a big change up for the game. I do love Berserk Dives. Paradox is correct. That was like my favorite thing when I'd have an assassination task in Black Flag. They gave you a dart gun, and I'm like, okay, a dart gun, whatever. I can put people to sleep, fine. And then eventually they gave me something called a berserk dart, and I'm like, have my attention. And they're like, yes, you can drive someone completely crazy. And I went, go on. And they're like, it'll work on pretty much anybody except for your main target. And I go, really now? To one of his guards, and he just goes, bro! Starts trying to kill the target. Then they kill him. I go, get his other guard.
I forgot there was another game that had that where they go insane and they started to. I wonder, was that like Tomb Raider? Maybe did that too.
BioShock. That's been used a couple times. Whereas you
Yeah.
enrage your enemies, they just fight each other.
Oh, yeah.
BioShock is what I've
I
heard.
never really used that one there.
There's been
There-
Doom.
Yeah, there's a lot of plasmids I didn't use in.
Yeah.
Did Doom do anything? I know you could go berserk in Doom, but I didn't think you could make enemies go berserk.
There
in
were a
Doom.
couple of other games
There was another one that I played recently where you would, what was it?
Make the guys fight each other. Make the enemies fight each other.
Actually, I believe Days Gone at the end of the game had.
Oh, like I've seen the game a couple times, and I keep thinking I might want to try it, but
I think I have that as part of my PS. I downloaded it as one of the PS Plus free games, and I've never got it started.
It might actually be part of the ambassador thing for the PS5 too. I mean, look for it. But yeah, no, I kind of want to try some of those. I've really enjoyed Ghost of Tsushima.
Oh my! I love it.
That's a phenomenal game. What a great game!
Dude,
and I'm not an open world game fan. I'm not a huge Assassin's Creed fan. But this game does everything right in all the facets of it.
Does.
Yeah, and is this fair to say? Will I get beat up for this one? In that, to me, Ghost of Tsushima is what I wished God of War was.
Oh, right? I would have loved God of War to have been more like that. Absolutely.
Like, that was my problem. My problem with 2018 God of War is it felt like story, wave. Like, that's all it was.
Well, and honestly, they were kind of keeping more to God of War with that. Because, I mean, if you look at the early God of Wars, like if you go back and play God of War 1, it's walk in a room, kill zone, next room.
Right.
That's how they all worked. Dante's Inferno was the same way.
That's what that was why I said it's only an 8, not a 10. Because to me, everyone was saying how new it felt, and I was saying no, it really just feels the same. It's just its room is different. It's just that you can look around the room, basically.
Right.
That's all it was. It was just isolated rooms, story wave.
Where also I felt like the enemies actually, I felt like the combat was a lot slower. I had some major issues with God. Like, I did not like the game. I liked playing, because I didn't like playing the game either. I liked it enough. I guess I liked the story and the characters, so I'm fully on board with the next one, and I'm glad to hear it's on PS4 because I will be buying it. I expect to not like the game as much as I didn't like the last game. It was very frustrating.
Did you play Ghost?
Ghost is
Tsushima?
Yeah.
Oh, no. What a game in it.
Oh, you should.
See, that one I think you would probably really enjoy. God of War was weird in the beginning, I thought, because you start off with the axe, which is not how any God of War starts off with. You always start off with the chaos.
I enjoyed using it, though.
Yeah, but I mean, and it was very frustrating when you first start playing with it because I'm just like, what the hell is this? Like, this is weird to use. I don't know if I like this. And then as it kind of powered up, I'm like, oh, okay, now I get where you're going with this weapon. This is really good.
Right.
And then it gave me the Chaos Blades. And then what really kind of tipped it almost to like a little overly complicated was having to do this almost like weapon dance thing, right? Where you kept having to switch weapons to use various specials or this on that, and then use this to do some other thing. And I'm like, you've taken what was already kind of like a really tightly balanced combat system, though kind of tricky to start to learn, and you've almost made it overly fussy, kind of like Doom Eternal did, right?
Well, see, God of War 3 did that, and I love switching up. Actually, in God of War 2, I love switching in mid-combat to all the different other weapons. Like, all of a sudden, you're just switching over to Hades' weapon. And what's up, Rhea? So I didn't have a problem with that so much. It was just how slow and clunky the actual, and how it seemed like the enemies are a lot more overpowered. Like it took a lot more effort to kill just basic grunt enemies.
Well, and I think that was because you were meant to like level through with the leveling system they had was more built around your gear.
And that was my other
and that's kind of like as your gear creep went up, it got much easier to kill things. But it took you a while in the beginning of the game. It took you really long time to start building up your gear to where you noticed a difference. By the time you hit like level 8 or 9, it was ridiculous.
And my other big issue, and they might have actually, because I played it very early on, so they might have fixed this with a future patch. The goddamn text in the menu screens it was just minuscule.
They fixed it.
I hope they fixed that, but it didn't. I played through the game in its entirety before they actually fixed that. I had major issues with that. That was almost a game breaker for me. I played on the couch, not in front of my computer screen. So
Yeah.
they clearly seem to put that text size for computer players. So
Nick, would you have agreed that if it like that a God of War with the Ghost of Tsushima kind of like its combat structure, how it handled that open world, could you see that as a game? Because to me, that's a game I would love. Like that's
Yeah, I could absolutely see that working as a game. I think that would be they would show a more, particularly if you put out the right setting. Because I mean, the reason it works for Ghost is because you have all these little villages and stuff that depend on this guy, and he's literally like their last kind of hope, right? Whereas, Kratos usually just could give two shits less.
yeah.
So that's where that concept starts to break down a little bit, right? Now, if you had like the gods throwing like these enemies at it or whatnot, and he's doing it just to kind of like weaken their forces and happens to save the village for whatever reason, then yeah, you could make it work that way. I think it would be a good concept to try to work out, because I think it's probably maybe the next direction the game needs to go, because the basics of the game haven't changed that much from the old God of Wars to the newly revised version, and it's going to kind of start to feel a little dated, I think. This new one shook it up just enough that it felt kind of fresh and new, and the story really pulled it along. Like, they did a great job on the story in this one. And so even a lot of people that didn't like it, like Matthews, played through it because the story was just that compelling.
The story and the characters.
The characters are very compelling.
I would like to see Neil Druckmann do God of War 3, where Kratos dies from a golf club. That's what I want to see.
Oh my!
See, Horizon Zero Dawn, I thought was my first foray into that. It was a big struggle. I wasn't feeling the combat system. I felt like I had to use a bunch of traps and stuff.
You played that on PC though, didn't you?
I originally played it on PlayStation.
I thought you started it. I thought you started it on PC.
I restarted it on PC. That's not where I first played it. My buddy bought it for PS4, and we were struggling with it pretty hardcore outside of doing stealth kills to be able to do anything effectively. Once I started playing around, because I bought it on a whim on PC because I think it went on sale, and I started messing with it again, and I got much more familiar with the combat system in it at that point. And that became a very, very good game at that point. There was just enough collectibles and stuff to do. There was just enough story bites and interesting bits inside all the little like vault areas and stuff that you go into where they're like constructing all the monstrosities and stuff. And to their credit, I feel like they did as laudable a job as you could explaining why these mechanized monsters existed in the first place.
Yes.
I'm like, how are you going to do this? Because there's no real logical reason why you need to have this done this way. Like, this doesn't really make a lot of sense. And to their credit, they swung for the fences on that explanation. And I'm like, you know what?
They did.
I'm going to give it to you just because you really swung for it.
They did. So it's Horizon Zero Dawn, Ghost of Tsushima, and actually Spider-Man were the 3 games I platinumed PS4.
Oh wow!
Oh yeah, Ghost of Tsushima was. There's so much more to that than what God of War does.
Yeah.
That it's a whole different kind of game, and I think you're going to really enjoy it. And I played it in Kurosawa mode. I played it.
Oh, nice.
Total black and white.
See, we're playing it in the regular mode, but I'm thinking about actually, because I'm playing it with a buddy of mine, and we're taking turns with the controller. So
is his name Tyler Durden?
No,
I bring the jokes, people. I bring the jokes.
I have one real life friend.
Did he tell you to blow up a convenience store also after?
Maybe. I didn't get caught. Shut up. But yeah, I kind of want to play through it again. And if I do play through it again on my own, I'll probably do it the way you did it, Mike.
The only issue that I had with that, only one issue, and Panda, who's beaten it, will know what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. There comes a point where I had to turn the black and white off. Mm-hmm. Because there's a spot where you got to do something that you can't do in that mode.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, come on. That was a poor choice in design, but 99% of that game I had to play like it was I was watching the movie.
And Matthews, I'm surprised. That's a game I would love to hear your opinion of. I would imagine you would love it.
Yeah.
If I would think you would love it.
Again, we're talking about Ghost of
Yeah, Ghost of
Yeah.
Tsushima.
Ghost
Is that
of
the I say ninja, but I mean he's like a samurai.
Yeah, he's a samurai that
beautiful-
basically has to learn like a
artwork.
bunch of new tactics in order to fight off Mongols on his home island of Japan. So you learn a lot of tactics of ninjutsu, assassination, that kind of thing as you go along. So you can kind of play both, or you can focus on one or the other.
Yeah, but it's not quite. That's not quite the story.
I'm
And
not
it's hard-
trying not to go too deep into the story because I'd rather
Okay.
he learned it on his own.
Yeah,
Yeah, Mike. Spoilers, geez.
I'm trying not to as well. I'm just trying to make sure it's accurate.
I can ruin the ending. Is that he finally learns how to do a crane kick, and he finally beats the opponent.
Finally beats Johnny Lawrence.
There's a part where you randomly are waxing a car. It didn't make any sense historically, but
Right.
It was a pretty fantastic minigame.
Well, he was-
It was very exploitable for coins.
Yeah.
He was waxing a horse.
yeah, it was, exactly. Yes. The horse
Okay.
gets a little aroused from it. It's very awkward.
Shoe the horse. Shoe the horse. Shoe the horse. Show me swish the tail. Okay.
Should we switch the tail? Oh my god. So we did sort of have topics tonight.
Well, wait,
Uh,
Matthews has to.
That's
go.
right, Matthews. You
Yeah.
do.
You
What are
are
you
you
doing?
are now no longer lagging.
No, I'm not. What have I? It's been several weeks since we've actually all been together here. So like 3 almost.
Yeah, it's been a while.
So
Kinda feels like it.
I guess I released that Halloween video. So thank you for everyone who watched that and also shared it. That was awesome. So I had really good response. That was also one of the reasons why there was a variety of reasons why I skipped out on last week. And that was one of them. I had to finish up that video. And also I didn't want to, because we were supposed to be talking about Halloween games on our last episode. I didn't want to end up talking
Spoil your
about
video.
stuff I was already going to be talking about.
Yeah.
Come
So
on.
just-
I suppose that's fair.
And since then, I've been trying to just wrap up some of the Halloween games I was playing on for my own. So finally beat Super Ghouls and Ghosts without cheating. So
I really do kind of want to get good at that game one day. It's a lot of fun, but man, it's
pretty good
just
game.
so
like it a lot.
ruthless.
It's I would say very manageable up until the last level when you have to start getting used to a different weapon. Because you have your weapon of choice, whatever weapon you have landed on to get you through the game, whether it's the dagger or my weapon of choice would be the homing bow and arrow.
Yeah, I
we
used
shoot, like,
I
3
found
shots.
somebody mentioned the crossbow to me that
Yeah,
you could
that's
charge
the
up.
one I like to use. So I just
Yeah.
use that to sail through the game. But then on that last level, you have to switch over to a different weapon if you actually want to beat the game.
Is it the shield
Getting-
again?
Well, it's the Super Ghouls and Ghosts version of the shield. But it
I
functions
can't believe they
just the
did
same.
that. It's tradition, but
Well,
I hate it.
Of course, you could believe they did that. Come on, Nick. So
They look
beating.
like- I've never gone far enough to need that weapon, but it looks like trash.
See, I like this. I like the shield from Ghosts and Goblins. I thought that was fine because you block enemy shots with it. I didn't really care too much about the range because it had a very wide shot, also very tall. So there wasn't a much of a chance of your shot missing something that was coming towards you.
That's fair.
So, and the bracelet is kind of like that, I guess. But
Ghouls and
6
Ghosts
days.
only taking you
I
6
can't-
days.
I can't remember
Phil,
how
is
long
kind of
I was-
impressive. But that would
I
take
remember
me
how long
much
I was
longer
working
than
on
6
that.
days.
I know I was working on that last level for a couple nights.
I spent weeks just trying to get Ninja Gaiden down, and I still don't have it down to where I'm happy with it. So yeah, I do not take to these games very easily.
I would say that Super Ghouls and Ghosts, for the most part, was I want to say maybe an easier game than Ghosts and Goblins. I beat Ghosts and Goblins so much. Oh, that's the other thing. You have a very, very limited infinite continues. As long as you're playing the game reasonably well, you'll keep on earning continues up until that final level. because you will not actually, you can't accrue enough money bags or whatever to buy a continued, even with 3 lives going through this level. So whatever continues you have going into this level, that's all you have to beat the game now. So it's not like Ghosts and Goblins on the NES where you can literally sit there for 24 hours a day if you want to, just playing the same levels over and over again. And I've heard that too, and I still want that game. It's just I don't have it. So
now everybody's pointing out the arcade cabinets being labeled wrong. Hey, I just made a fun picture. I can have whatever I want in my arcade cabinet, sir.
No, you may not.
Hey, Matthews, when you were I know how much you love Halloween. Do you like when it's Christmas, are you the guy that takes down the tree the day after? So with Halloween, do you continue to play some of those games, or it's like it's a hard finish onto more, other types of games?
I always think that I will want to keep on watching the movies because I love just doing everything in the Halloween spirit all month long, and I get started on it early. Like this year, I was doing Halloween, a third into September, so I was gearing up for it. And I always think, well, these movies stand up well enough on their own. These games are good games. I'm going to continue to play all through. No, by the time October 31st rolls around, I'm like, I'm done, because I also been just immersing myself in this Halloween video the entire time also, and then watching everyone else's Halloween videos. It's just a big fun time. So I was just a little Halloweened out.
You need a little levity
in my but I also like a lot of levity in my Halloween content.
Oh, right.
My wife is a hard finish kind of person, so if she had her way, we would be taking down the Christmas tree.
It would already be in the garbage.
Probably midnight on the December 25th.
Okay.
So it's
honestly, that's partially why, because I was so burnt out from Halloween from just everything that happened this month, because we had a bunch of family stuff happen this month too. On top of trying to get things ready for trick-or-treating and all the videos I was doing, that was eating up a lot of my time. That's why I threw the Christmas background. I'm ready for something festive and fun. I'm tired of morbid, gory things around. I'm over it. I want something more cheerful.
Just skipped Thanksgiving and went right to Christmas.
Yeah. Well,
I was saying,
Thanksgiving to me is mostly a lot of work followed by a really fun meal, right? Because it's me, Nicole, and one other friend, and we spend most of the day. We spend a couple of days before prepping everything for the meal, and then the whole day, almost up until 7 o'clock, cooking and setting things up and eating,
and then 15 minutes eating.
And then it usually takes me a couple hours at night and most of the next day to clean everything up. So Thanksgiving for me is more work.
Gotcha. I hear you. I mean, I love
levity and fun. I like the holiday, but it's a lot of work, man.
I love it. We have 15 people come over. We'll have some of my family members come over. Some friends will come over. We'll depending on if it'll fit. I usually will rotisserie the turkey, because I've got one of those Ron Popeil Showtime rotisseries, and
we've had one of those too. However,
I've had it.
The size of turkey we use wouldn't work in that thing. It wouldn't even fit.
Lately, the turkeys we've gotten, because we have at our temple. There's one of our fellow congregants has a farm, and
oh wow,
she sells turkeys. So we get
those
her
are
every
probably
year.
Amazing.
They are, and they are fresh, and I mean fresh. So
fresh as in they're running around the kitchen.
Yeah.
They are. I have to
You gotta cage it up on the drive home.
Yes, exactly.
They just give you a rock.
Rule 1, cardio.
Yes. Come on, Rock.
You're not gonna catch a rock. You're gonna be lightning fast.
Lightning Rock. But they don't fit. They haven't fit in the rotisserie lately. But if this one, if I can get it about 20 pounds, I can get it in there. Otherwise, it's that's right. See, he's safe.
So he
now.
thinks.
Doesn't mean I can't catch them and sell them to other people who can eat them.
Does that
anyway?
What kind of deal, Mike?
Well, it's king.
what all
crab.
is included in shellfish, Mike? I'm curious.
Crab, shrimp, mussel, oyster.
Okay, I was gonna say
crab,
like
clam.
the whatever the bivalve, the mollusks.
Yes.
Do they count as shellfish?
Yes.
Hmm.
Yeah, and pretty much anything like that. The other thing that we can't eat are things like catfish and eel. So the rule
Yeah,
on
the bottom dwellers, right?
well and so the way they put that rule out is the fish has to have fins and scales. So catfish have fins, but they have no scales. And so but like carp, I can do carp. Carp has both.
Very
you couldn't
good
eat
question.
you couldn't eat shark either then.
And
can't
see,
eat shark.
Mazen comes in with the
up,
important
Mazen?
questions.
Mazen is the man.
So that's too bad.
Hey, sweet dinner, how you doing, man?
Because scallops are delicious,
Crab
by
legs.
the way. So
Scallops, I've had scallops. They are delicious.
This is an odd yet somewhat accurate observation from Phil.
Come on. Yeah.
I didn't really think of it that way. That's a really morbid yet really funny way to think about that.
That
Oh, God.
only a serial killer would be able to observe. Here's the Phil.
Cheers, Phil.
So that was how I spent. Should we jump into the topic?
What
Since
topic?
Yeah.
we're gonna start with the big
no
voice
idea.
actor.
Well, we had two ideas for topics. One was one that you guys have been kind of talking about in Discord that might make a good overall conversation, which is pretty much the sort of
leave that up for a while,
ever
Art.
rising curve of retro gaming and YouTube and the retro gaming community's influence and impact on that. And then the other one was pretty much the main one, which you came up with, which was more the mob mentality on, pretty much the internet as a whole, particularly social media, and kind of how to avoid that and why that happens, and kind of what triggers people, that kind of thing. I don't know which one you guys want to start with.
We're going there.
We're going heavy. We're going heavy.
Mike,
this
remember
week,
that our
man.
first episode we
Mike?
talked about cyber bullying. So
Yeah.
we touched
Yes,
on
we
this a little
did.
bit on our first episode. It was a
And
really good.
Nick's just going to keep that comment up for the rest of the show, isn't he?
I'll pull that one down. That's fine. Sorry, just going through comments. So, who wants to kind of start here? We got to mention the topics, and then everybody got super quiet, like, "Oh my god, I'm not touching this one."
I'm
It was
just
Rob's
listen,
idea.
I actually want to hear Rob on this because
Wouldn't it be great if he just bullies all three of us? Like if that's what it's just like, I've been meaning to get this off my chest. I've prepared a video that
Screw
slanders
you.
all your names.
for you.
Roll it.
As a video share pops up on my feed,
And it just comes back to it like, Jesus.
What's going on,
Christ.
Eugene?
This bullshit going.
He said, "I'm just here to see Mr. Matthews do pet bat."
And now Eugene's like, "Oh God, what did I walk into?"
Yeah, but that's not here, unfortunately, tonight.
Do I
I'm
need?
glad
to
I got at least
refill?
a picture to immortalize him on Twitter, though.
Do I need to refill first before we go into this topic?
Maybe.
I might need to be a little drunk.
All right,
Maybe you
Matthew.
don't want me a
All right.
little drunk on this.
Let's go ahead and get started with this. I'll kind of set the groundwork as the kind of the genesis of this conversation and what it kind of morphed into. Because the original thought was we were kind of having a discussion on Discord, and it's kind of due to something that kind of blew up that rallied a ton of people around it, leading up to Bayonetta 3. As you guys might know, the voice actress on that. If you don't know this, and then you've not been on social media and more. But more freaking power to you. You're a much better person than I.
God bless you if you don't know.
You have a better life than all of us.
Yes. Basically doing a rallying cry, asking people not to buy Bayonetta, to take that $60 and donate it to charity. I'm going to leave that and leave a pin right there on that for right now. basically saying that they had vastly underpaid her. They were only going to pay her $4,000 for the entire role, and yada yada yada. She's poor, starving artist, and she would just like to make a living wage. This catalyzed pretty much everybody on Twitter, which is not hard to do.
Twitter will always love emotion over logic.
Yeah. It was. Yeah. It's not hard to rally people on Twitter if you come off seeming vulnerable, charitable, or just salacious in general. It's going to catalyze people one way or another, either for you or against you.
Rising already.
So she does this impassioned plea to everybody, and it immediately rallies everybody around her. Tons and tons of videos are there. Everything's going on, and my poor little computer-addled brain's going, okay, wait a minute. What's the average pay? How many hours work? How many months work? How many other gigs was she working? What's the normal average pay? And I have questions.
And my question would be, does any of that even matter?
Before I can get angry and go on a warpath, I need context as to what's happening. Apparently, 99% of the population functions differently than my brain. Not surprising.
Twitter.
It's true.
Keep in mind, Twitter and mostly bots think one way. You know what I mean? So I think the average Joe may have a different perspective.
I think the thing is that what we were talking about in your Discord server, Nick, the $4,000, which was all she said. She didn't elaborate on what the $4,000 was, or what it was for, or what was entailed, or what was required to get the $4,000, or she didn't get any context for how that compares to what most people get, or what she wanted to get. She just said $4,000 and let the audience assume on their own, which they did like a bunch of fucking sheep. Sorry, I ran out of breath because I'm ranting so hard. Everyone ate her bullshit out of her hand, is basically what I'm saying.
And separate for the record, this is incorrect. We'll get to that.
That's not even the right one. Yeah. So everyone interpreted that number exactly as she wanted them to interpret. And she did it in that way.
Because I can.
Let's just focus on this for a little bit, though. So she did it in such a way that people forget that she's an actress. And that was literally one of the best performances I've ever seen. I mean, she had this magic way of holding her face and showing just enough emotion to show that she was holding it back, that she's too dignified to cry, too brave to cry. She's not going to give them the satisfaction of that was how she presented it. And she had the very lovely voice, obviously, very calm. And she ended with a Bible quote, which she completely missed the point of. So I guess I could see why she compelled the entire internet to her side on that one. But here's what shocks and offends me so much about that, though, is how eager we are, and I'll say we, but I don't mean we.
I mean you. All of you. You just watched the chat.
How eager and willing we are to put aside.
Finish her.
How eager we and willing we are to.
Come on, I'm sorry.
We're fine putting aside logic and rationale and reasoning if someone puts on a good performance. All that matters is that first story and how. Yeah, you should watch it. And all that matters is how well that's delivered and who comes up with that story first. If she had written that down on a paper, we just read it as text. These words were absolute shit. What she was saying, her message was garbage. She was saying she waited a week before, knowing she didn't have this role, by the way. So she waited a week before the game came out to try to tank it. And here's what really gets me. I don't know why more people didn't latch onto this. She vilified Jennifer Hale, who took her job and Jennifer Hale's got this little people following her around trying to tweet out her. She may not have known the story behind Bayonetta 3 before she took the job. What if she did? Does it matter? Do you need to? Someone did not want that job. I'll do it. So do I need to know the story? Hey,
Matthews, can you elaborate just a little bit on what she said about Hale? Because I actually didn't even get that part.
So she said that she was very careful with how she talked about Jennifer Hale. Jennifer Hale is the one who took the role of Bayonetta 3. And Jennifer Hale has hundreds of acting credits, including Samus Aran and Metroid Other M.
Mass Effect 2.
And Mass Effect 2. A lot more credits than Helena Taylor has. So I forgot exactly how she said it, but she did it in the same way where she had like this little hint of a darkness back here that you were meant to see, but she wasn't, where she was just like barely holding it back, where she was kind of saying a nice thing like congratulations for Jennifer Hale for making that money, but at the same time you're a bitch for taking that job, which was mine, and you don't deserve. And she actually said specifically, you do not have a right to that character. You may not sign autographs as Bayonetta.
Oh wow!
Yeah, she was awful for. I imagine that Jennifer Hale was like, "What did I do?"
And this is where things kind of started to turn for her, because it was shortly after that.
I don't know. People were really trolling Jennifer Hale pretty hard, and I did watch a hot take video. And the person I was watching thought that was reasonable. He said, "Yeah, that's true. That's a powerful message."
It's ridiculous.
So,
yeah, things started to turn for her a little bit because she phrased everything in her first message very, very carefully. One, she mentioned the charity option, which was to get people polarized to her side because she's being generous. She's an altruistic person.
Was the charity her Patreon account?
No, she said just give it to a charity. I have expected somebody to set up a GoFundMe for her because of this, because it was a pretty compelling performance when I watched it, because I watched people just capitalize on it and watch it and I go, wow, that sort of sucks. But then I immediately had questions because waterworks don't really have the same effect on me. I'm married. I don't know what else.
You also like the turkey drowning comment. You too are a sociopath.
I'm a little twisted. So as time went on, Platinum kind of lit more of the numbers out on how this was going to proceed. It was $4,000 per session.
But what if it was $1?
Of 4 hours a piece. So the woman was making $1,000 an hour.
Yeah.
But Nick, if it was $1, would that really have changed anything? That's the principle.
Well, I mean, there's the integrity of bashing the product that you were paid to work on, and now you don't want to work on it, you're bashing it. That's still not okay, right? There's still a lot of stuff wrong with it. But I could have rallied more behind the genesis of the thought that I was really kind of taking away from it. The voice actors are radically underpaid, right? And I'm like, okay, so maybe that's fair. Maybe that's fair, right? Maybe we need to look at that.
Take a look at writers'
concern. Maybe more facets of this game design. The people who come up with maybe the artists that come up with the concept sketches are underpaid. Maybe the writers are underpaid. Maybe the voice actors are underpaid. What does that affect to the bottom line of the video game, and how can we make the video game still affordable and get these people the money that they're worth? Right.
So what you're saying is that there are a lot of people that work on these games, not just the main voice actress. Right. Is that what you're saying, Nick?
Yeah.
Okay.
Rob, you're blowing my mind right now, actually. Well,
and
I've heard that more than one person works on a game.
Yeah. Who knew?
Especially a double or a AAA game.
I mean, when you look at it from that perspective, I'm still kind of on board with this concept, right? If that's where she's going with it. But when she's telling me that, oh, woe is me, I only made $1,000 an hour and I only worked 16 hours put on this project, and they were going to give me $16,000 for a project that was going to take me 16 hours. That's 2 normal work days work. I start to lose all empathy for your woe is me living wage bullshit.
That was a subtle flex, by the way. Continue.
I'll just cut in and say that I think that the 4-hour workday, that I think that realistically, I think they expected her to pay her $4,000 per session, however long those sessions are. So she'd probably be doing like 8 or 10 hours in the studio every day.
Maybe she is, and that's almost even better for her because she can schedule it on one day. She
Right.
can work another normal job, have one day that she takes off, or work it out in her schedule where she goes in and she bangs out a ton of content on this, and maybe comes back in for another short day. That makes it even easier for her to work in other jobs.
Or you can do this stuff at home now, and that's not a new concept. Way back in the day, in when I had the NLG website, I don't know how many of you played NFL 2K.
I don't know what an NFL is. So.
All right. So NFL 2K had every sports game's got commentators, right? So
yes,
two guys, Jay Stein and I can't remember the other guy off the top of my head, were voice actors. They did Dan Stevens and Peter O'Keefe, the two commentators for NFL 2K, and I had a chance to interview them, and they talked about
subtle flex.
That's exactly it.
Crab's gone already. So, but they talked about the process, and they did all their recording at home.
Yeah,
they
a lot of them have a studio set up at home, like a little booth, where they can go in and set up to do the sound properly, and they record all the lines in there.
I feel like, to me, I'm sorry, I feel like we're all missing a very large point here. When I saw that video, what'd you say, Mike?
That she lied or she missed?
No, my point, like the first sentence that came out of her mouth was, I said immediately, my first reaction was blacklist her. She should never work ever again. Immediately. Because
and I
first
think
of
they
all,
have.
Well, good.
I think she's struggling to get.
I don't
now,
care
and she's
if she
blaming
said
them for that too, and I'm like, no, you did this to yourself.
Yes, but like, I don't care if she came out and said all they offered me was a high five. I don't care. Here's the problem with that. One, and I can't believe no one was thinking of this. One, if you're a business owner, maybe you didn't have a great working relationship with this person, so you lowballed her so that she wouldn't take the project, right? That's a professional decision that she can make if she wants. I offer you a deal. You don't have to take the deal. You can take it if you want or not. That's just business, flat business, right? If you want to go and picket for actors to make more money, more power to you. Get part of your union or do whatever and do that. What you don't do is boycott a company because they lowballed you an offer. I mean, just imagine if anyone at any job, Home Depot, they didn't like the pay, so they went out on YouTube or Twitter and started saying you should boycott this company for this, when maybe their resume sucked. We don't know. You have no idea, right? So just to assume because they paid her, they didn't want to give her a lot of money, that we should all now boycott all the men and women that worked on a game, and that's not even her. That's not her project. She didn't put any money into it. She didn't create the thing, but because her delicate voice was on it, that now I'm going to just ruin everyone's career. Then I'm going to ruin this entire product because I didn't agree to a deal. Had she said that they promised me X and they gave me Y, I'm with her. I'm totally with you. If they broke the contract and they gave you $1 instead of the $2 million, whatever, sure. But this was just an agreement that she didn't have to take. That's it.
Well, there is that.
For me, she should have been blacklisted the minute she said that, because who would ever want to take her on now that they know that if they mess with the delicate flower, that they're going to get a rally.
She'll just light you up on.
She'll just let you up on social media because she didn't
wants to actually be friends or have an employee like that who's just going to
what she really
be that
wanted,
much of a liability.
What she really wanted was royalties on the game. And I think Pace had mentioned that before. She wanted like a cut of like the royalties and stuff that are in there. And even a lot of the programmers and writers and everybody else in there don't get a cut of that. Yeah. Just because you're the voice of a character doesn't mean you get royalties on like every copy of the game and all the action figures and everything else that's sold with it. That's not how that works in the normal world. Even mainstream actors like Keanu Reeves coming in and doing a role for Cyberpunk, getting him in there, he didn't necessarily get royalties on everything else that's related to that. He probably won't anything that uses his particular likeness, because he spent years and years and years in cinema building up a reputation, working well with others. He's got a reputation as a mainstream actor, and he brings a certain clout and a certain buzz around a product because now he's involved with it. He brings a lot more to the party than just, hey, I'm the voice of this one character. There's a lot
I
more
think that
involved
even for Hollywood actors, the royalties is actually like a prestigious level to actually hit.
Right.
Like I didn't like Scarlett Johansson have to negotiate pretty hard to get royalties on something, or
yeah, I think it was like Black Widow. She had some issues with her contract there.
Yeah,
and that
but I think that's something you actually have to work up to and earn.
Yeah, and she
actually obviously be valuable enough to the studio.
Because it was contingent on it being in the theater, and they launched it early on Disney Plus, and she kind of lost her mind on that because it was a lot of her pay, right? And I understand that because it was contingent on one thing, and then they completely changed the game plan, and it kind of screwed her in the rear. I was behind her on that one. She had a much more compelling case,
and she did it right. She didn't go on Twitter and say, "Hey guys, need to boycott all Disney movies."
Disney, right?
You guys should all boycott Disney movies next.
We've been told we should all boycott.
You just say that as a matter of fact, though, Panda. I know you and your opinion on Disney since forever, I think. So, it's been.
I'm going to be making a Twitter video, but you can donate all your subscription monies to any charity you want.
The charity thing is basically just a way of luring other people in to try to get them more on her side. And the thing is more. The problem is people not wanting to look at things critically when they look at things, particularly on social media. People, I find, a lot of times will think a little bit, not necessarily very critically, but they'll think about things a little bit more sensibly when it's not on social media. And they always tend to fall into this trap when it gets sensationalized on Twitter or other social media platforms.
Really, really fast, I just want to say, I can't speak for the game industry. I can speak for the film industry. I can say I always enjoy watching pretty faces say how much money they should get, right? But they never talk about the little guys. Do you know how many people will work on a film set getting basically nothing, but they'll work like 19-hour days?
Oh,
They'll get nothing. But I don't see them rallying behind them that they should get more pay.
Or actually, all the animators.
Sure.
You've got all the character design artists. You've got all the animators.
About that, actually.
You've got the lowly freaking server people that are helping with like all the code repositories.
But you don't hear their face.
The best boy.
Anything from them.
Exactly. You don't hear their voice and you don't see their face and they're not pretty. So they're not going to make it. And that's fine. But where are any of these actors or anyone rallying behind them? Oh, it's all just a bunch of malarkey. That's what I say.
No. Tell me who in Avengers Endgame, one of the biggest Marvel movies out there, who was the key grip?
Mike,
Gary Trent.
Of course you would know.
And here's the thing too. When you're talking about like a lot of these films and a lot of video games, it takes a lot of time to basically compile this data. Or in the case of like the films with all the CGI, it takes a ton of time to render that. Usually they're networking computers in the office. They have server firms that are handling that. You've got people that have to maintain all that stuff. And if that starts to have a problem during any of this, they're the ones that are up 16, 20, 30 hours in crisis mode.
Yes.
Making sure that's repaired.
Oh, the delicate voice.
Yeah, they're not getting anything extra for that. That's part of their damn salary, man.
But I'm sure all of you, not me, I mean, I get every job ever, but you guys, I'm sure, were turned down from a job at one point or didn't get a perfect price that you wanted. Did you feel at any point in time compelled as the innocent victim to go and tell the world to no longer shop at or go to or whatever the company?
Because I want to have another job
victimhood
someday.
Crap is a bunch of poop. That's my quote.
Yeah, because I want to have another job someday.
Yeah.
The
thing is that
they say they don't discriminate, but I have literally watched people burn bridges and set things up to where they explode after they leave in companies. And when they go to look for a job with another company, guess what? These companies talk to each other.
They do.
Stuff gets around.
And when they find out that you did some shady crap, or somebody goes, no, that went really bad. No, we would not hire them back. And they go, oh, okay. That person is done.
And she could have actually delivered that message in a way that didn't destroy herself.
I was just about to say the same thing.
She could have said, hey, guys, I just want to let you know why I'm not in the game. Here's why. I wish Jennifer Hill the best luck. Let's talk about the wages of voice actors or whatever.
Bingo. And I would have been right there with you.
Yeah,
But no,
then
she
you
actually
have
had to do it in a completely selfish, vindictive, manipulative,
Well,
evil way.
Yeah.
well, but then, but my issue is, on top of all that, left out a key
Oh
piece
yeah,
of information
was
that
lying about
changed.
it also. What's up, Jim?
Hey, Jim, that changed her. That changed how people felt about her stance. You know,
Well, only the emotional crowd. It woke them up because then they could jump to the other side.
Right. And a lot of people jumped up and made it more salacious than it was because it gave them views. They could use it on YouTube. They're like, oh, well, look at this injustice. Here, watch my YouTube video. That kind of thing. So a lot of it's self-serving indignation, right?
Mhm.
That catalyzes some of it. And that's pretty common. That's normal on any
That's
of
a
these
big word.
takes, right?
no shit.
What is I've never heard that word. What does catalyzes mean?
What?
Galvanizes. It
Question:
ignites.
what does galvanize mean?
Energizes, rallies.
It energizes everyone together towards a
towards
direct
a common
cause.
goal.
Yes, thank you.
And how do you say
When
it?
you say catalyze, you mean like acting as a catalyst, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
like
So,
you started
so
a-
acting as a
okay.
catalyst, you catalyze people to where you basically act as the agitator that starts the rallying cry that you focus in a specific direction, right?
Got it.
I knew what you meant.
That's what that means.
Like galvanize, yes.
Like
Yeah, like
Galvatron. Just think about
Galvatron.
Galvatron.
Damn it. Okay.
Using today's word, indignation. That was today's secret word.
Yeah, would you like read a thesaurus, dude? I know what you did for your little week off. Yeah.
But actually, here's what really kind of gets me, and this is kind of what led into which we're totally missing right now, but which is fine because it's a fun conversation. But this is what actually led me into why do people do this? Seeing people, it was more of a referendum on other people than it was about Helena Taylor. Her bitchiness was right there in plain view. I was surprised no one saw it, but it is what it is. The people who said the next day, "Wow, I guess there really was another side to that story. I guess we shouldn't have jumped on that so quickly." And these were things that were literally
so they
being
can
said
make
on
another
Twitter.
video.
Right. Gee.
Like, are you fucking kidding me? You didn't think that maybe her story that she was telling you was not the actual complete story? You didn't think that there might be a flip side to that coin? How many times have there actually been some big salacious story that everyone was galvanized to jump
I
on?
happen to know the definition of that.
Okay,
You
what
know
does
it
that
now,
mean?
sir.
That turned out to be our
The more
bullshit
you know.
or wrong. The one that actually I keep coming back to is the pro Jared thing, because his ex-wife came out with the same thing. It was just like it smacked of the Bayonetta 3 fiasco. She had like a big tearful message. She was very, very easily
too,
sympathizable
Eugene.
with.
We should rally people together.
Yeah. And everyone
I'm
jumped
sorry.
on that, and then it wasn't the next day. It took a year. Most coins I have had more than one side. Not all.
I was going to say that. Well, first off, Matthews, are you finished? Because I don't want to step over you.
I've been doing that
I'll
all
just wrap
night.
it up real quick.
Yeah, no, keep going.
And then
keep
everyone,
going.
once
I heard a long
other
pause.
side to that, thank you. Once the other side of that pro Jared story came out, everyone's like, "Oh, I guess maybe we shouldn't have jumped on that one so quickly. I guess maybe it wasn't the complete truth."
Can you
I
give
guess
the
there maybe
audience?
was others.
Can
So-
you give the audience a little like recap of that in case they don't know what that?
Yeah, I had to ask
that
my
was?
wife about this one too, but I think
Oh,
Rob
the
probably
pro-
knows it
I
better
thought
than I do.
that was such a big news because I was more invested in just because I actually I
Well,
like
just a recap for the audience.
Pro Jared was
I think it was sexual, right?
what?
I think it was like a harassment, right? It was like
Was
a,
this
Yeah,
the
some
James- the
kids
James
came
Charles
out.
guy?
A couple kids came out and said that he like groomed them for nude pictures.
oh right. Mhm.
And then right around that time, his wife, he announced that he and his wife were getting a divorce, and they're doing it amicably. They just want to do it quietly. And then as soon as he basically he posted that on Twitter, so he kind of a little bit made it public himself. And then she immediately flipped it around and said, "No, this is not an amicable divorce, and here's why." And she threw him under the bus. So everyone jumped on Jared because of the flimsy accusations from these two kids, and the way his ex-wife was able to just to get all the sad teenage girls on Twitter on her side, and there's a lot of them. So that ended Jared's career for the better part of a year. Did
he recover a little bit?
He did, and he actually, his comeback video was an epic takedown of that entire
situation.
Situation. All the drama, because there was a lot of drama around it, a lot of moving parts, a lot of really touchy stuff that we don't even need to get into. But I mean, that was such a high profile, and I was trying to think of the other thing that was happening at the same time, and my wife reminded me there was I think Charles, the makeup guy.
James Charles.
James Charles. I want to keep on calling him Logan Paul for some reason. I mean, that was happening around the same time.
The Logan Paul's a whole other story.
Sure, Logan Paul's very happy to do that.
Other show. I'm not sure we're ready for
the opposite of James Charles. But I mean, those were just two examples of high-profile figures that were taken down by a salacious story. I believe in to the mob's credit, I do believe that the James Charles drama was justified, but it got walked back a couple times. Regardless, it frustrates me that this happens every few months. There's some story that's literally too bad to be true, but everyone takes it as gospel. Just because it's a really good, juicy story, and everyone wants it to be true. That's the thing.
Yeah, and that's really what more people are following it for, and getting and how some people will antagonize it, because one, it'll get them clicks, and two, they don't want to see the story end because it's all salacious and fun to watch. It becomes like a Jerry Springer episode happening online.
Yeah,
right. And so people really like to jump into this.
Can't look away from.
That's why what I was going to say was, because I actually, to speak about that, I actually sent Matthews a video that I had made about the voice acting situation. And I said, you know what? I'm not going to post this because I'm just not in, I don't want the drama clicks. I just wanted to just voice an opinion because I didn't hear anyone saying what I was thinking. So when I heard Matthews kind of felt the same way, I just wanted to at least share it with him, but I didn't want to put it out on the internet because I don't want to get involved in drama, and I don't want to get in, I don't want to be known as that guy. I just merely wanted to just put a point out there that no one was thinking about. But I didn't, because I know what that turns into. My point out of that is people know what it turns into, which is why most of them do. So I think you're wondering what the mob mentality is. The mob mentality is always rewarded. The mob mentality, you will get more views, you will get more subs, you'll get more followers by being emotional at anything. It's how algorithms work. It's how everything works, which is why social media is always at war with one another. It will always pit people against each other because that's what serves the algorithm. That's what generates clicks. So if you're wondering why it always feels like a mob, it's because it is a mob and it's facilitated by a system that rewards that behavior. That is all I will say about it.
It is. And it also comes down to the fact that now, instead of and this kind of goes back to what I think we actually covered on our first episode, is that the internet starts to kind of group people into similar thoughts and interests, to where almost
algorithms
becomes like a bunch of conglomerate of people speaking as one voice now, as opposed to individuals that you can talk to and have a normal discourse with, right? Where you may not come to a consensus as to you're right or you're right, but you at least come to an understanding of each other's viewpoints. And I find that happens less and less the more people you get involved, and two, when it comes to the internet, because so many other people chime in that support your viewpoint and your viewpoint only. No, it's not you, it's them kind of mentality, right? And that makes people more closed-minded to having what you would consider a normal discussion.
Nick, just real fast, Nick, if you and I had a disagreement on something and we went on YouTube to air out our disagreement, and we did so very civilly, and we let each other talk, blah, 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 right? Versus if I came out and said, you said something, I start laughing at you and going, hey, blank, blank, blank. I start cursing at you. I blow up. How many times is that going to get clipped? How many times are people going to be making videos about me doing that? Then that's going to be taken out of context where they never even saw your original thought. You just look like an idiot.
Right.
And it just keeps copy, paste. It just keeps going out.
Yes.
So
yes,
it's you're rewarding that behavior. That's how the mob is formed. No one wants to see a civil conversation. I would like to see a civil
for Discord.
right. And honestly, we and me and you have talked about this before, Panda, because you've done like you call it your master debater episodes, where you've kind of done those arguments where you got the thoughts together and you kind of did it on your own. But we talked about having more than one person involved in that and filming that and having that discussion.
Yes, I want to.
And honestly, I think those are a good idea because I think more stuff like that needs to happen where people have an open discussion. And I think another good way of doing something like this, not only to have that discussion, but then you kind of leave it open-ended as you leave it open for chat to have that discussion, right?
Agreed.
And then you go back and you review the chat and you go, well, here's kind of what you guys chimed in and how we feel about this or whatnot, and then have that have another takeaway video from those responses. You see what I'm saying? And I think something like that would be a far more healthy way of managing this kind of thing, because you don't have to agree. That what people don't understand about an actual open debate is those people aren't convincing each other. They're talking to the audience. They are showing a polarizing viewpoint of one side and the other side. That's how debates work.
Right.
They're not supposed to convince the person on the other side of the podium that they're right. They just present a case.
But imagine if let's say it was just me and you had every great take, and it's me, Captain Galvanizing Idiot over here, doesn't know words, right? And I don't know.
So a normal Tuesday for you.
Pretty much every day for me. And I don't know what you're saying, but I just do like hot take number 2, and I call you little words and stuff. I will be the winner in many people's eyes because I clap back. You know what I mean? So
right,
you will.
Because you were aggressive, right?
Yeah,
see, and
it won't work.
The problem with civil debate, it's not a problem. It's what everybody should be doing. The problem is it's boring, and I think nobody wants boring. People want that movie style drama. And they want to see somebody get wrecked.
Get wrecked.
Get wrecked. No, they do. They want to see
Cranky Panda.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, I will tell you on our show, especially when it comes to stuff, when it came to stuff like Halo Infinite, I went toe to toe with Peter and Chris on.
Did anyone call you a traitor?
No. Well, that's for other things.
Oh, okay.
I would have great conversations with those guys. No one cares. But let me get on our show and start talking about I don't know, PlayStation owners and calling them the hell's the term they use, ponies, and all that stuff can be and how the console you like that I don't like sucks. And how Xbox is the best box and all that will get views, will get traffic. And if I am inflammatory, if I burst into flames, if I'm inflammatory, and if I call people out and I use a lot of profanity, that will get views.
And
that
plus, I will
traffic.
say that the correct answer to which is better, Xbox or PlayStation? The answer that's always right is, why are you arguing for a corporation?
Oh, I thought you were going to
move on.
Yeah, right?
Like, no, I want this corporation's much better that I get no money from.
I always have said, hey,
get both is the correct answer.
Those of you who root for a specific company, Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo, when they quote win the generation, do they send you like a trophy?
Yeah, unless you're
do you get
Maybe.
stock in the company? Do you get like a plaque that says I was there when Sony won the PS4 generation? No, you don't get any of that shit.
Well, what's funny is they get really quiet during the era where the Wii U absolutely crushed everybody with console sales.
Oh, you mean
Because
the
they're
Wii?
like, they
Not the
couldn't
Wii
have
U.
won that generation. No. And I'm like,
Not the Wii.
if you just
Not
go
the
by
Wii U.
console sales, they did.
Oh no, they totally the Wii totally killed it, and nobody could figure out why. I mean, it printed money at console, but to Panda's point, another good saying I always like to bring up is if you have it all, you can play it all.
Yep,
And
there you go.
so that's why I've got an Xbox Series X. That's why I got a PS5. That's why I got a VCS.
Well, and I look at it the same way. People go, well, because, going back to, some of the shenanigans that you and I have been involved in, Mike, people keep going, well, why do you trust them so much? And I'm like, I don't.
I don't care about
I don't. They're a company. I inherently have distrust for them because they're a company. It's a company. You don't trust companies.
It's a product.
It's a product I'm interested in. That is
It's a product.
But that's all it is to me, is a product. I may know some of the people and I may like those people. That's fine.
Can you explain that tattoo on your ass then?
Well, it was a wild night, and she said she loved me. I don't know what to tell you.
And the better question is, why do I know?
And Chris, I'm looking for your picture, man, but I couldn't find it right off. I'll have to find it after the stream. I see that you sent me a picture, but I can't find it right now on Instagram. I'm terrible at Instagram. I'm old.
And hey, Matthews, what was the correct answer to the Xbox PlayStation thing? I failed you. Oh, I was going to. No, it is PlayStation. I agree too. But.
Screw all of you.
I was like, oh, here it comes. Oh yeah, you went that way. Okay, never mind.
Well, what's been the most confusing to me, and this is a bone I have to pick with a lot of people, particularly, and it's been a growing concern, even inside the GOG, is the almost worship around Game Pass as a product.
Don't disparage my Game Pass.
Here we go.
Why are we
that shit's terrifying, dude. It's now become a new religion. Game Pass is a religion. People won't buy something if it doesn't put Game Pass on it. They'll make fun of anything that's not on Game Pass till it comes on Game Pass, and then it's the best shit ever. It's the weirdest thing, dude.
There are people. Those people are not gamers. So I will give you So hold on though, because I'm partially in that first camp.
Well, I know.
I'm partially in that first camp.
You've been talking about Game Pass since.
But in that, Game Pass gives me money to buy other stuff. So I at least get my Game Pass subscription, and being able to not pay for Plague Tale Requiem is why I'm going to be able to afford to play God of War Ragnarok.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm not against Game Pass as a product. It's the fanaticism behind it that concerns me the most. There's other concerns I have, which we've talked about before, but that's a big one.
Well, but if you have to ignore all of that. That's just it. You have to ignore the fanaticism, and you have to. I mean, you can't control what other people think. You have to control what other people.
He can't.
Think.
I control this panel.
True, you can. Yeah, but I could try. Damn it, I could try.
Suddenly, we're talking to nobody.
Right.
And suddenly, Mike is muted.
Oh, but I can still use my hands. Now you gotta get past So the funniest thing for me, we talk about the crazy fanaticism on the other thing, but you got to remember that I'm in the middle of watching people that I know that are PlayStation fans, Xbox fans, and I watch them lob at each other, and I just sit there and I laugh, and I'm like, why are you spending that much time on something you don't like? And they all tell each other the same thing, which is the correct statement. Okay, you don't like Xbox. Go play some PlayStation games. You don't like PlayStation. Great, go play some Xbox games. Go enjoy.
Go play a Switch game or something.
Go play a Switch game.
Or go argue that the Steam Deck has totally destroyed the Switch, even though the Switch is continuing to sell like gangbusters.
Right. Oh, and you have to go to every. But what you have to do is you have to go to every channel that talks about the Steam Deck and every video that has something good to say about the Steam Deck, and you have to go in there and you have to disparage them, and you have to disparage the people that like it. So that's the bullying part that Rob brought up earlier. Is the cyberbullying is you're never going to get rid of that. Exactly.
See, Carla's got the right idea. You go play a Dreamcast game or an NES game or anything.
This is why she's my sister.
Yeah, honestly, my take has always been play what you want on whatever console you want to play it on. Because there's PlayStation games I prefer to play on PC. There's games I prefer to play on console. There's certain things I like about the Xbox controller versus the PlayStation controller. There's certain things I like about the PlayStation controller versus the Xbox controller. I like all these platforms. And when you add more platforms, I just have more things I can play games on, and that's not a bad thing for me.
So the newest hate is that PlayStation gamers are going to PC. And it's the PlayStation gamers that are all up in arms because their games are going to PC.
Well, I
don't understand.
I can understand on a reasonable level, right? Like on a very reasonable level, I would say that the fear of that is that PlayStationers may not want their games to become multi-plat, because then it takes away from the specialness of that console exclusive, if that makes sense. There's something to be said about that, because when you're designing the reason why first party games are fantastic usually is it's because it's people who know the hardware very well. They know how to push it. They know how to do things with that hardware, where when you're dealing with an open system, things get bloated. They can go, you get bad ports, you get all this other stuff. But by fully utilizing a console, you're getting everything. You're getting the best bang for the buck, and you're getting the most creativity around the limitations and the positives of hardware. I'm not saying I'm against this. I'm saying I'm telling you what they're arguing.
Well, here's where the hole in your argument comes into play. Is because
there's no hole. I have no holes in my argument.
Well, here's the part. Here's your
hole.
Here's the
hole. You're wrong.
Yeah, it's a big.
Is it the one next to your Miko tattoo?
Yeah, it is. See, here's the thing that becomes a problem with that as far as I see it. Usually, for the most part, the PC launch of the game comes out about a year after the game has already been released.
For now. On
the PlayStation. And that's probably going to stay the case for the most part on a lot of those titles. So you're going to have 6 months to a year where it's going to drop in price. So anybody that wants to get it for cheap is still going to get it on the console. And anybody who's willing to pay the premium for it on PC and hope that port is good is going to pick it up on PC if they've waited that long, right? Now, I waited for Horizon to go down a little bit in price. I still could have bought it for like $19 on PlayStation, but I'd already played that experience. I wanted to see if the experience was any better on PC. Yes and no. It looked a little better. It played about the same. I found the mouse and keyboard scheme worked a little better for me on that particular game, but that's not the case for every game. So that advantage may be a moot point. Right?
Can I throw you something?
Go ahead.
Let's see how you'd answer this. So
let's plug the hole.
That's well, that explains that night. But moving on.
Are you missing a tooth, Panda?
Sorry, Nick's wife, but let's move on. So let's take the Wii U for a second. If the Wii U, and I know it's a failed console, but I happen to love it. If the Wii U,
I love that console. I consider the fact that most of its games got ported to the Switch.
I like the point he's about to make. I think I was thinking this the entire time. So
go ahead, go. Sorry.
So the idea is if you took the Wii U and if you then were to port those things to PC, eventually the erosion happens where you're no longer using that gamepad because it makes more sense for developers to start making things open-ended. You start losing the specialty of that console. I'm using the Wii because it's an obvious one. It's like a glaring obvious one. Perhaps, Mr. Matthews, you can add to that?
I was literally thinking, like this entire time, I felt like that when they were adding more and more games from the Wii U library to the Switch. It may make more sense for the games to be on the Switch, but it's taking away from all the unique reasons that made the Wii U the few exclusive reasons to actually have a Wii U.
Well, yeah, Breath of the Wild never even used the gamepad.
Yeah, let me put it this way: it doesn't in some cases, and here's my logical reason.
Why you're both wrong.
Well, here,
Yeah,
look,
I told
when
you,
look
there's
at
never
something
holes
like-
in my argument.
When you look at like say Wind Waker that moved over from the GameCube to Wii U, not only did you get like a graphical update, but you also got that gamepad where you actually had that second screen that had your inventory, your map, and everything like that. They also added a couple of little extra features in there. Now those extra features would port over, but that second screen doesn't translate to other systems and still makes it a unique gameplay experience there. Lego City Undercover is another and one of my best examples of a Wii U game done properly, because not only is a lot of the dialogue that's sent to you from like your handler done through that tablet, all your map and everything down there, which leaves you with this clean, beautiful, non-UI screen on the top that you can use for your actual gameplay experience. And it vastly improved the experience of that game. Certain games, when they're translated, they lose some of that uniqueness and just become kind of eh. And so you want them on the original platform for those reasons. Now, certain games, that's not necessarily an advantage. Now, if you take something from the PS5 and you port it to, say, the PC, now, depending on your PC, it may run just as well, and you're not going to notice a difference. On some things that use more unique controls or gimmicks, or if your PC's a little slow, you're going to notice a difference, and it's probably going to run better on the original platform.
But how soon does Sony say, in this instance, let's say, well, we could put all this development in this controller thing that it does, and like maybe the whole game will, revolve around this mechanic in the controller. Oh, but wait, the PC users may not have that. So we may not be, let's scratch that idea. We should make it a little bit more universal. That slow erosion begins to actually change the content that goes to a console, because now you're open-ending it. I'm not against it. I'm saying that's the argument.
So there's two things I want to say about that. Number one, we're not in that mode anymore where, the Wii U was a different console because of what it did with the controller.
Right.
These days, you have two control schemes. It's either a controller that looks like an Xbox controller or a PlayStation controller.
That
or a
is
mouse
starting
and
to look a
keyboard.
lot like an Xbox controller.
Which is right, or a mouse and keyboard. So you don't have that these days. And the other thing too is, like, it doesn't hurt me as a console player if someone's playing that game on a PC. Like, it does nothing to me. It doesn't make me want to go buy a big ass PC and go get the game there, because I don't want to I don't want to put the PC together. I don't want all that hassle. I just want to walk over, grab my Xbox controller, my PlayStation controller, hit the button, turn it on, go to the game, play.
Okay, but apply that to your Amico, right? So
Mhm.
let's say you have a game on there that's utilizing the controller.
Mm-hmm.
But let's say the thing comes out. Let's say it's successful. How soon would a developer maybe say, "Oh, well, we're going to also port this someplace else," and so soon they're using less of those features. The other system isn't going to have the lights, right? So then they're not using the lights on the system that you bought for those lights. Is now not using it.
So that's an assumption.
That's the erosion.
But it's the assumption. However, I'm going to give you a real world example.
I think I just nailed it personally.
Well, you did, but I'm going to put a hole. I'm going to put a hole in your hole.
Oh, okay. Ooh, getting me tingly. All right. Let's do this.
So sometime in November, Atari 50th is coming out.
What is that, sorry?
The Atari 50th collection.
Oh, okay.
It's coming out on Xbox, PlayStation, Switch, PC, and Atari VCS. I'm going to buy it on the Atari VCS for one reason, because I'm sure it'll be the same across all platforms. I play most everything on my Xbox, and I would have Xbox Live and all that crazy stuff. The Atari VCS has the classic controller with the spinner in the middle, and the games are going to utilize that. In fact, Digital Eclipse and Mike Micah and his team, they're working on. They actually sent they linked to somebody who created, if you have a 3D printer, a little attachment, right, that goes to the controller.
I can see that.
But the fact that that the VCS has something that the other consoles can't do, and Digital Eclipse is utilizing it. And so I'm going to be buying that game on that system.
Yeah, and that kind of leads into Paste's point, where a developer that makes a unique experience on one console and then multi-platforms that game could be influences to think multi-platform early in the game's
therefore you limit. There's the erosion.
And that really comes down to, I feel like, the console designers to encourage and incentivize developers to utilize their hardware in specific ways to flex that hardware to the best of its ability to give it the best impression.
So, but let me go to the Amico for a second, because there is something that, and I use the VCS in the same way.
No one's joining that club.
The VCS, so the VCS has a
Paste loses subs.
The VCS actually has two controllers that I have. that came with the Onyx bundle, right? Comes with the classic controller, which is the kind of two button. It's 2-button with the spinner stick, and it looks like the classic Atari controller. But it also has a full-on modern controller, which basically I'm surprised Microsoft didn't sue them. It is point for point an Xbox controller, down to where the buttons are, the triggers, and all that. The Amico doesn't have that. The Amico has a controller that is specific to that system, does not have the same buttons, does not have the same button layout, doesn't have the ability to mimic an Xbox or a PlayStation controller. In that case, developers that are going to put games on that are going to port it elsewhere, don't have much choice. They've got to utilize the controller.
I've also seen that become a hindrance, though. I've also seen that become a liability because they went on one direction with it first, and then they ported it over to the one with the weaker control scheme, or not say weaker control scheme, a different alternative control scheme. Right. The Wii being another example. A lot of those games struggled.
They very much did. And again, I go back to the Atari 50th. Natively on the Atari VCS, I'm going to be able to play Tempest 2000. All of those Atari 2600 games that use the paddle. I'm going to be able to use that with the classic controller in a native scheme. You have to buy an accessory that's going to plop onto your controller in order to mimic that, and it's not going to be the same. So, but it's leading me to buy that game on a system that I would probably, if I did, it would probably have been an Xbox anyway, but I'm buying it on the system that's got the controller scheme that I'm going to use. So I just don't know. I think that there's a modicum of assumption that I don't think we want to go down until it actually starts happening.
I can only see benefits to a closed system of a console. I can only see benefits creatively, knowing my audience, knowing the hardware. Same thing that happened to, I want to go to that. But basically, if I know the hardware, I know exactly what that company is making for that hardware, whatever peripheral they make. When I have that all in front of me, I know how to make the best game I can and push the hardware the best that I can. I'm coming up with creative solutions. I see no benefit in opening that system to now where I'm having to cater to a larger audience that is outside of that box. To me, that's going to hurt creativity. It's also going to get more corporate minded. Well, we've got X amount of money. We need to get to the most amount of people. So let's take out this feature, or let's not design this controller for this thing. Let's keep it more standard. You start to limit your ideas. You start to limit your imagination, and you're pushing the hardware less because you also now have a PC you can port it to. So I personally, I don't care. Let me be very clear. I don't care that PlayStation is putting stuff on PC. It's a financial move that's smart. I can see, however, why it makes people nervous about what the future of PlayStation will be, though. That I understand for all the reasons.
Well, their nervousness should already be there because we're 3 years in and they're still making games for the PlayStation 4 and basically porting it to the PlayStation 5.
Well, I have a running theory that the PlayStation 5 does not exist because I've never seen PlayStation 4 also.
So they're already limiting what their PlayStation 5 can do.
Yeah.
The reason they did that, though, remember why they did that?
Wait, hold up. That's wait, I'm so sorry. What a perfect example. People are angry that they're still making things for PlayStation 4 because you guys said, "Oh, I wish God of War really pushed PS5." Well, that's the exact same problem. The minute you're opening this up to other avenues, you are limiting what you were going to do. Does that make sense? The erosion.
Yeah, no, I understand where you're coming from, but I'm saying
I'm gonna have sex with myself.
I'm saying they're already doing that now.
How's that different from any other night of the week?
It's pretty much.
Here's do it harder.
Hold on. Here's my other point with this, though. If they're already doing that on their own platform, what difference does PC make?
But I think we can see how it's affecting the quality. You can see the negative to that. I think PlayStation 5 people are probably saying, "Boy, I wish it wasn't a PS4 game too."
Yes, but here's where the difference is between going back in generation in your own system and going to PC. PC games or consoles are basically PCs now. They really are. They're built with the same exact architecture. So porting a game from Xbox to PC is super, super simplistic. Sony bought Nexus, who did a lot of their ports for PC and did them very well. So they've got an avenue now to do, if they wanted to, they could simultaneously, and they won't do it for reasons of wanting to keep some people, not going off the deep end. Otherwise, from a financial standpoint, Sony would absolutely do day and date with PC if they didn't think that the fan base would revolt to the extent that they would. They're already upset that Spider-Man and Miles Morales are coming to PC, even though they've had the game to themselves for 2 years. So, but the game's going to be pretty similar.
I was just going to throw a little bit of a wrench in your argument because you said that games nowadays are also like they're basically PCs. That's actually incorrect. I know a bunch of developers, engineers that still have not been able to crack the code of Nintendo Calculator. They've been trying to get it on other consoles, and no one can do it. They're just like, who wrote this incredible code?
Genius or man wrote this.
I didn't even know Nintendo had a calculator.
Oh, you didn't know that?
It's
Nintendo calculator
it's like $10 or something dumb. I
own
really
it.
Stupid.
It's fantastic. I just do the boobs thing every time. I laugh and I laugh.
It's like that one diamond app that was sold on the Apple Store for like $10,000, and it was just an animated diamond that just sat there. That was it. That was the whole application, and he just put it up there as a gag to see if anybody would buy it because he could put whatever he wanted to on it once he got it up there. And a lot of the case with the PS5, the individual hardware specs are right. Some of the things are a little bit quicker than a PC, but it's very close to a PC. Xbox architecture has always basically been built off of PC architecture from the ground up, which Windows is why 10. It's one of the reasons it's so easy to work with, and it's right in Microsoft's wheelhouse, so it works to their strengths. But when you start looking at things, what you're looking at on those is stuff like is stuff like the controllers, right? So you got your Elite controller, and then you got your PlayStation 5 controller and all those. And those are easy enough to code the unique features for those into your game and get drivers to work on a PC. So you don't necessarily have to change your experience in any way when you migrate it that way. You just get a driver for it so that it can use that same functionality. Then you just build the game and it's built to those. Maybe you add control schemes in there for mouse and keyboard for the hardcore people. But a lot of people, like if I were to play Ratchet and Clank on PC, I'm immediately going to reach for a controller. And if I had a PlayStation 5 controller and knew the features of that worked with it, even if I knew there were drivers out there for it, I would go out and buy a PlayStation 5 controller for that game if I didn't already have one. Because I feel like
if a PlayStation actually existed.
Right. Well, you can still get a hold of the controllers even if you can't get a hold of PlayStation 5.
That's true. I actually have seen controllers.
And they run on PC just fine.
Right, but they don't always do the haptic feedback just as well. I don't think they've gotten the drivers right yet. But if they start doing this, they're going to get the drivers out there, so it'll sell more controllers and stuff for them, and you still make the experience the same experience it was on the original platform.
But I do want to swing back around to something because I think we do need to have a differentiator because there is a little bit of what Panda's saying that I do agree with, but where you're coming from, Panda, is you're coming across, you're talking about cross generation, right? You're not talking about, so when we talk about exclusives, I more think about cross platform, right? So Xbox having their exclusives, PlayStation having their exclusives. I see the PC not as the lowest common denominator because of that architecture. But one of the reasons,
what do you mean by that?
Because it's PC architecture.
Mm-hmm.
The Xbox is, for all intents and purposes, an x86 PC RAM. It's got the AMD Ryzen chip in it. It's got an SSD drive. It runs basically a core Windows 10. It runs DirectX 12. It runs the same thing that Microsoft runs on its PCs. So going from the reason that Sony did what they did. I don't know.
And Sandwich has the right answer. It's RetroRoots, dude.
RetroRoots.
Wait, and Mike, let me just hold on 1 second. So I actually, and Mike, please continue right after I say this. Matthews, I actually thought that we did finish that because I thought we
had wrapped that up.
I thought we did too.
Because I actually was feeling the whole time like, wait, did we get to the mob things? I thought I expertly explained how mobs are formed, how they're rewarded, and I thought like, oh, okay, well, they're.
And then we took a left turn at Albuquerque.
But so Mike, continue. Then maybe
Rob,
Matthews get back on.
Wait a minute. I have not muted Rob, and I can't hear him now.
Yeah, we can't hear you, Rob.
Sorry, I was on mute, so you guys wouldn't hear me type.
Okay.
Oh,
I didn't want to be disrupted like Nick is.
Rob's been trying to get a word in edgewise.
You know what? I'm going to get my old keyboard back and make it even more clicky just for you, sir.
My wife has a complete noise pollution keyboard, and she got it almost specifically for that purpose. It's like this really old school kind of, almost like a Commodore 64 keyboard, like click, 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 click. And she does a lot of video conferencing with her work. I can't imagine.
Is it one of those 7-pound metal keyboards that you can kill?
No, it's with? Like I want to say. Okay, I'm gonna expose my wife for the geek that she is. I think it's a Hello Kitty keyboard. It's
nothing wrong with that.
Now,
I mean, we lost viewers the moment you said that, but
So just so I'm clear, Matthews wanted to derail the conversation because he's been dying to talk about his Hello Kitty keyboard.
Yeah, that's right.
Is that really
what's
exactly
it? So yeah, I thought we had finished up the.
I'm not saying that we didn't finish it up. It's just like a weird dichotomy from this heated, lots of emotion, lots of anger, pointing at the screen to all of a sudden now we're talking about the differences between consoles.
Because it's hard to look. I don't want to. I'll be honest with you. I've had enough of people attempting to internet bully me that I really don't want to talk about it.
Yeah. Well, the only other topic that I really wanted to talk about, and I don't think we got enough time to do it today, we may do another episode on that, was the and we can touch on it a little bit if you guys want, but that was more or less the retro gaming community and YouTuber influence on that and how it's kind of gotten blown out of proportion. Not only because of pandemic and people having money, but prices skyrocketing as people buy things in bulk and then jack up the prices on things like eBay and stuff like that. And all the kind of videos that are quick tip videos on how to build your collection in under $100 or how to make tons of money off of retro games and stuff like that comes out that takes what was a fun collecting hobby and has now made it to where you have games that are like, $3,000.
Well, and I'll actually to jump back to what I think Matthews wants to talk about real quick. Let me say something. Let me say something that I think is like the best way to get to that point. As we'll spend 2 seconds on this. As you guys know, I've had a while back, I had some questions about what was going on with a certain console. And I made a little tiny video. It was brief. I just said, hey, I don't know what's going on with this console. Until I do, I don't want to be touching it because I don't know what's going on. There's some things I'm disagreeing with, blah, 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 blah. And since there's so much information being thrown around, I don't even know it's real anymore. I'm stepping out. From that video, we're all friends. All of us here, we still talk with one another. I'm on your show now. That didn't create any drama because there was nothing in it that fueled drama. I wasn't pointing out. I didn't go like how the other direction that maybe some others have, where they start now making videos where they're on this other side. It's just like, no, dude, this is it's just an adult thing. Like, I don't know what's going on, so I'm bowing out of this thing, right? So Matthews, like, there was no mob with that. There was no drama with that. There was no anything. If I wanted to generate clicks, then I would have acted a certain way, and they would have probably generated clicks, right? So all of that was my point earlier. All of the mob mentality that you're talking about, I would argue, is fueled because of that idea of being rewarded by clicks, follows, things like that. Where when you don't do that, it pretty much doesn't do anything. It just peters out and does nothing.
Yeah, unless you let people like stir you up into something, and then you start feeding into that drama that's trying to be built around it.
Right, but I don't care.
Which is one thing that you just didn't do.
I don't care.
Right.
So I mean, the main way to avoid that is basically, and I thought we had covered this, I guess we really didn't, was mostly to kind of keep your head and keep your cool, kind of look at it a little bit more analytically and a little less emotionally, particularly when you first run into a topic, because you don't know both sides of it. And usually when you look at one side and you look at the other side, you find out that they're both wrong. And what's actually correct is somewhere in between those two, right, is what actually happened. Because both sides, much like when you're talking about two people doing a debate, they're going to show you the extremes of a topic from one side and the other. And it's up to you to find out in the gray area, what makes the most sense to you between those two. And that's how people present things online on Twitter all the time. And I don't think people really see it for what it is. One, emotional manipulation. And two, pretty much one side of a debate where you're not really given the other side.
Yeah. Like one thing that just sprang to my mind when earlier when we talked about Pro Jared, someone asked, they weren't really familiar with the whole scenario, so that they asked who was in the wrong there, and my immediate answer was both people. When you're in a divorce type situation, you're both in the wrong, and everyone might as well. My best friend, as I'm explaining to him my horrible sob story for why I got a divorce, he should just automatically assume, even though he's being my bro and like being sympathetic, that he can't believe anything I'm saying. I'm coming from my perspective. I'm relating the story of what happened through my own prism, and her story is going to be totally different. What you actually need to do is take kind of what each of us are saying, dial it both back. I think Trump said this, so I was just assuming. My first instinct was, oh, she's single now. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
If he just, you got to find that middle point, because everyone's going, regardless of, especially now when everything is so galvanized on Twitter.
Galvanized.
I worked it in again.
Another big word.
I want that to be the word of the stream.
Not another big word. It's the same big word.
Yeah, you always need to just, and no one really wants to do that. You always need to find that middle point, because that's where it really is. It's not here. It's not here. It's pretty much right here. It's not as awesome as they're saying. Not as bad.
Yeah, but but Matthews, do you? So on this topic, are you someone that but likes watching that kind of stuff though? Do you like getting into those little conflicts, or do you like coming? If you saw two sides, let's take the voice actress thing. Did you go in saying, "Hey guys, now let's look at the middle ground," or did you go, "Hey, dear idiot, did you think of this? You effing boop, 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 boop." Did you do that, or did you come from the middle ground?
I didn't really talk to anyone on Twitter that day. However, I did talk about them on Nick's Discord, and I believe there was a lot of that kind of language being used. So
there was a lot
saying?
Exactly, and there was a lot of discussions back and forth.
I think sometimes we're all guilty. I think sometimes.
I'm very. I'll be open that I love, and I always say this. I do love drama as much as I hate the fact that I love it, and I'm pretty open about that. So there's
a big difference towards
consuming
some of it.
Insecure about it.
Yeah,
so.
there's a big difference. Though I feel like to consuming some of it, which I think everybody's guilty of, and just being mostly consuming it, or needing to find it everywhere or start it when there isn't any, right?
Or being
Well,
driven by it or addicted to it.
Right. So
Right.
consuming it or letting it consume you.
Right.
There you go.
And
Well
I think,
galvanized, Mike.
I
am
galvanized to that.
Wrong. Oh my god. But yeah, I mean, everybody's going to look at a salacious story. Everybody's going to look at it initially, and you're going to look at it through different eyes. Some people are going to immediately get emotionally invested in it, or they're just going to see dollar signs out of it. And other people are going to kind of look at it more analytically and kind of look at it that way, or they're immediately going to like vilify that person. You know, there's those people that immediately see somebody like that, and anytime they see it, whether they're right or wrong, they're immediately pretty much vilified for even speaking out about it, because there's always that subset as well.
Well,
Usually gets drowned out by the people that want a white knight.
About that, though. So
Do what?
The thing is, I don't think that she's wrong necessarily to speak out about that. So, I mean, I did. We're not even going to talk about this anymore, so I shouldn't really be latching on. You were just using this as an example. So,
I mean, it works as an example. If you want to keep using it, it works as the overall topic of what we're talking about, right? I mean, if you want to continue to use the Bayonetta thing as an example, that's fine. It works as well as anything else we have right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if it's done, then I did cut Mike off. At some point, he should actually go back to that other topic.
I'm reclaiming my time, sir. I'm reclaiming my time.
Yes.
No, we got off on that tangent. I do think that that's worth a fun conversation to have another night. As to, because I think that I'll wrap that up. Yeah. Brother Big Block.
Yes.
I'll wrap that up in this way. I agree with you that when you have to go for the lowest common denominator, right? I get that. And one of the reasons that Sony decided to do that, because the first God of War, the last God of War, and
2018.
there was one other game that they talked about, was built for the PS4 and then brought up to the PS5. They did that because, like everything else at that time, COVID was destroying half the industry. They knew, because I watched I typically watch the investor meetings that they have and stuff to keep up on this. They knew they had to sell PS4s for the next couple of years because they needed to ramp up. First off, the PS5 was coming out at $500, and it was going to be so limited because of COVID. They had no choice but to support the PS4 for a few years. And Microsoft did the same thing. Microsoft still kind of does it, but now they're moving off of what they're doing. What Microsoft has done is they've moved off of the Xbox One, the Xbox Series X, and they've added the cloud gaming to those consoles so that you could stream the games that are only Series S and X capable. But in order to really play them the way they want you to play them, you have to have a Series X. So, Phil Spencer said this week that they're finally, the industry is finally getting its feet back under it from COVID. I think you're going to start seeing the move from that. What I don't mind at all is games going to PC that's not the lowest common denominator. And somebody playing a game on PC does not hurt my ability to play it on console. And that's really the point I was trying to make.
Yeah, maybe one day you and I can go in depth a little bit more on that.
I would love to. That would be a
Honestly,
great
I
conversation.
think we could do like at least 2 more episodes off of stuff we've talked about tonight. The topic that we're on right now could easily go on much longer than what we've actually done it with, particularly if we spend a little bit more time to like think about it before we do it, because it just kind of turned into that. And then
RetroRoots.
Yeah, obviously we take left turns. That's what we do. I don't think there's a podcast that doesn't do that.
We didn't talk about retro at all today.
We didn't, which is unusual for us.
Yeah. Today's show
and
is
then
just
The Wii U.
I
the
said
retro
Wii U,
that
yeah.
time.
Okay, you did bring up the Wii U. That
Only
is
guy on point tonight. Galvanized 2000.
But remember, I also thought about the Wii U at the same time you were
Good
about
point.
to say
Good
it.
point, Matthews.
So
All right.
at least this side is
Yes.
on
You
point.
guys can be wrong together. It's fine.
Yes. And you guys are on that side of the screen, so.
So anyway,
But I've been in that hole.
The other retro collecting topic, I think, is another one that we should probably cover at some point. That will probably take us down its own rabbit hole, but I feel like it's a good conversation to have. So maybe we can have that one in the near future too. And Panda, if you want to come back on any of these, I'll let you know when they're going to come up, and you're more than welcome on here, obviously.
Thank you.
I love having you on here when you're on here. I don't often invite you because I always figure you're like up to your eyeballs and then some in work.
I am. Yeah.
That's
So
not what he really said.
yeah, well, he's up to his eyes in something. And it's not galvanized.
No, it's not.
Galvanized in the hole. What the hell happened to us tonight?
We had a couple of good topics. That's what happened, and the chat was digging it. We had a lot of people really invested in it tonight. So, thank you everybody who pretty much popped in. Now people want galvanized controllers, galvanized 2000.
I'm glad you catalyzed everyone's interest in galvanization.
That's right.
Way to bring it back, Matthews. Way to bring it back.
Panda is galvanized with indignation. So we're going to wrap this up for a little bit. Let's go around and kind of see if anybody has anything going on. Rob, do you have anything going on?
Not really. I usually take my month-long breaks between projects, so I'm entering it now.
I was about to say, normally you're kind of working on a project during that month. You just kind of take your time.
It usually takes me a month to get one out. So I call it a break. That just means
It just means you're actively working.
Publication.
Right.
Yeah.
Me. Well, so
cool.
I'm currently, I guess the next big episode I'm working on is actually a man-machine, like whole big episode of just him. It's a big story episode. I'm hoping to get that out by the end of November. But my new thing is I'm just going to get it done when it's done. So that's what I'm doing directly right now. And thank you very much for having me on here. I love talking to you guys. So thanks.
Man, anytime you want to come on, you just got to let me know. We do like having you on here, and it's usually not hard to find a topic that you can talk on because you can talk on most of the topics that we were already going to cover anyway. So it's not like, anything like that. So
we just have to check with Rob.
Yeah, I want to say that almost half of us were very excited to have you on here today.
That's more than I usually get, so thank you. That's a step up.
And the rest of us were like, fine, we'll deal with it.
Usually I'm just on mute.
I'm sorry, say what again?
Galvanized. The word of the day is the secret. The password is galvanize.
So, Mike, what you got going on?
I am going to start working on my next recharge video. I'm not sure which one it is yet. It's either going to be Yar's Revenge Recharge, which is really freaking good, or I caught wind that Missile Command Recharge got an update that actually made the game decently fun. So I'm going to go check that out. So one of those two is probably up next. Either this Tuesday, we haven't figured out if we're going to take a week off or not and do a stream or not, but the next NLG show Tuesday night, either this Tuesday night coming or next Tuesday night following, will be our 300th show.
Wow.
Oh, congrats, man.
The channel has been up for 8 years. HTK has been on almost, he's starting his 6th year with me on that. So I'm not sure quite how we're going to celebrate that yet. So, and then I don't know, a buddy of mine had gotten me some import Saturn games. That
you talked a little bit about that on NLG, I think, too, didn't you?
I did. Yeah. So, and I put them over on the shelf, but a buddy of mine was down in a convention in Florida, and he picked me up Winter Heat, which is the winter version of the Decathlete series. which oddly enough, the Saturn, the import version's $20, the North American version's $190. So talking about stupid collecting stuff. Fighters Mega Mix and Fighting Vipers. So 2 excellent Saturn fighting games. And I don't know if I'm going to do it Saturday or Sunday. I may be taking Seth out for a there's a group out here called Pathfinders for Autism. Bless you. There's a group out here called Pathfinders for Autism, and as Seth is autistic, they do events and things like that. So it's aquarium night at and I like the aquarium here in Baltimore. It's pretty nice. So Saturday night we're gonna go do that. Sorry, Michael Douglas. That is awfully specific.
It is oddly specific, but I love it all the same. It's like great, man.
So I'm
Chat's been off the hook tonight, man. It's been awesome.
So anyway, that might be a
Monday night.
That might be a Monday night retro stream where I do these, because the winter heat was really good. Decathlete was excellent. So we'll see. But anyway, that's what's going on with me. I was awfully long. Sorry.
No, that's totally fine. I mean, the only thing I've got going on is I'm going to try to drop another video that I'm going to migrate from the old channel tomorrow, and then I've got a couple that I'm going to work on. One that was a request that was made a long time ago from Ramblin' Man on the Manual Box Odyssey 2. I have another game mechanics I want to work on for world building that I need to get started on now that I'm kind of getting things more back to normal. I've got a couple of scripts in float that I'm going to try to work on pretty hardcore this weekend to try to get a little bit of lead time so I can work on bigger projects. For the Geek Story channel, I'm going to try to ramp up a little bit more streaming on this channel. I'll probably add a weekend stream. Sunday seemed to work pretty good last time, so that may be a little bit more regular. Hopefully people will kind of get the gist of that happening. If they want to partake or not, it'll probably pop up at the same time that my normal streams usually do, which is usually like 5:30 my time. But as I get into like longer games and stuff like that, I kind of want to get more times during the week to sit down and play those, so that you guys can kind of see the progress and kind of follow through with those and things like that. And it may be that I finally follow through with starting to try to tie some of those in to the Geek Story channel content and back and forth. That was a suggestion that Panda had a long time ago that I have yet to be able to really kind of work into as the channels have kind of moved along. But it's something I want to do long term with the two, to kind of tie them together so people are more ties to come enjoy the live content, and then they're sort of incentivized to go see the recorded content as well, and they can kind of work more in harmony rather than feeling like two disparate channels, that kind of thing. So that's kind of what I've got going on right now. So Panda, I don't know if we skipped you or not. I know you said you had like 80 million episodes that you're working on that are going to be completed in like 20.
The main machines thing.
Yeah, you didn't skip me. Yeah.
The Man Machine one, which those have been really
stuff.
funny, by the way.
Yeah, thank you.
Those have been pretty fantastic.
I'm actually really excited for 2023. That's where I'm kind of really moving the channel to its like final state of it's all going to be story-driven content. So they'll be about games and pop culture, but there's always going to be this big story around it. So I'm really excited for where the channel is going to be going.
Yeah,
Me too.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited to see more content coming out from you. I know you want to do more story-based content. I enjoyed a lot of your live content too.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, but I what happened was I was doing
there are no more dating games.
Yeah.
For play.
I did all that because I knew how long, I felt bad that it's going to take me like 6-7 months per episode. So I started doing all that stuff. But what was happening was it was then taking away from me getting the story stuff done. So I'm shelving that and moving solely to what I set out to do. So I'm excited.
Yeah, the only addendum I could think of to do that, that you might want to do is if you do like the debate thing, doing that live could actually be interesting too.
Well, I do. Let's just say I do have there's an idea I have to still work that stuff out. We'll talk
Okay.
about that later. But I do have that is something I wanted to definitely do.
All right. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and wrap us up. We've gone over 2 hours, which is a bit long for us, and I know some of us, it's super late. For me, it's getting pretty late. So we're going to go ahead and wrap it up here, guys. Thank you, everybody who popped in. We had a great crowd tonight.
Thank you, everyone.
We love that you guys were so engaged, that you guys enjoyed the topic, even though it was a little bit more serious than when we usually go, and that you guys stayed active and with us during the stream. So
you have a great crowd. They're diverse.
These guys are
They're
awesome, man. The
fantastic.
crowd here is amazing. They're usually engaged. They stay on point. They derail us in the right ways.
Yeah.
That's a good way to put it. That's a great way to put it.
So it's always awesome. So, but thank you so much, guys, for making this podcast what it is. Without you guys, it'd just be us gibbering to ourselves incoherently. And eventually we would all start drooling, which might be entertaining on the replay, but not as entertaining live.
Oh, it could be entertaining live. Depends on how many glasses of wine I have before halfway through the show.
That's true. That's true. So thank you so much, guys. Until next time, happy gaming.
Play on, gamers.
Bye, guys.